Ladies and gents, we have a very special guest. Today, we're talking to the lovely Robin. Robin's had an amazing transformation since I met her last year. Both on the scale, Robin lost 31 pounds on Vegan, Slim and Sustain, and she's actually lost another 11 pounds since the program finished. And also off the scale in terms of habits, mindset, overcoming cravings, emotional eating. The list goes on. The list goes on, Robin. So, Robin, hello.
Hey, nice to see you, Ryan.
And you. What did you struggle with prior to joining?
Well, I've been vegan for about 6.5 years, so I had done the gamut of everything, going super plant-based, doing, juicing. I watched the YouTube videos, all of those things. We found junk vegan food at some point. So my weight had gone up and down. But when I reached out to you, it was probably the highest it had been since I had started being vegan. So I knew that I didn't know what I was doing. Like there was something not right. And I think when I reached out to you, I was actually in a plateau because I had lost some on my own. But then I was like, what am I doing? So I had a lot of knowledge, but didn't really know what I was doing with it. So, yeah.
I think that's a really fair summary. And I think a lot of people at home would resonate. It's one thing going on YouTube and understanding, from reading the books and watching the plant-based doctors, understanding the tenets of plant-based eating, but then actually going to apply it with precision and sort of customization to what you need and what meals you'll enjoy. That's where people get stuck. I mean, that's one curious thing about your journey. A lot of people come into Vegan, Slim and Sustain and they don't have recent weight loss experience, but you were actually losing weight prior to the program. As much as you've just said before joining, there were problems with the junk food. You're at your highest weight in recent history. But prior to you actually signing up with me, you were actually losing weight. Do I understand that correctly? Have I got the timeline?
Yes, I was losing weight. And then it stopped.
Yeah, well, that's the curious thing to ask then. I mean, now you look back with the knowledge you have now, what was going wrong? Why had you plateaued just before joining, despite all the knowledge you had?
Yeah, well, it's funny because I remember that first day of your program, you had sent me the meal plan like that morning and I had to work. So I had already packed my lunch. So I took pictures of what I had packed. And it was funny because you were like, oh, you're doing fantastic, but you're not eating enough. Like that potato was not enough, so I think I had cut my calories way too much, but I also wasn't adding in like beans or fat. Like if you remember in the beginning, I was like, avocado, tahini, are you kidding me? This can't work, So that was the biggest thing. I think I wasn't eating enough, but I wasn't doing the right combinations of foods either.
And when you say the right combination of foods, do you mean to satisfy you and to feel nourished? I presume that's what you mean.
Absolutely. Yeah. Absolutely. Had no idea.
And what do you think the consequence of that was? So for a lot of people that are very aggressive, whether they know it or not, like you say at the time, you don't know any better. So we're not going to, grill you for it. I didn't grill you for it when you came in the program because you didn't know better. But do you think the consequence of that was that you were therefore getting really hungry and then going to the vegan junk? Is that what was happening? I
don't think so. I was pretty disciplined through that time, but I was hungry. I wasn't satisfied. I don't even think I was doing 1,200 calories a day. And it's crazy, but that's what I knew at the time was, cut them down, you know what I mean? And don't eat this much. And I don't think I was even getting in 1,200 calories.
So at this point, you'd got all the vegan, you'd gone through that sort of vegan junk phase that a lot of people struggle with. Oh, we've got all the alternatives. Let's try this. Oh, this TV advert, the new burger at Burger King. You'd gone through that phase. And you were strictly whole foods plant-based. But the weight's not moving anymore. You lost a bit of weight. You lost, I think, was it around 10 pounds before you signed up with me?
I actually lost 12.
12, excuse me.
Yeah.
And then you start getting stuck and you're thinking, hold on, I'm doing everything right. What on earth is going on?
Exactly. I can't eat anymore. I'm hungry.
There we go. Yeah, exactly. If I'm hungry and I'm not losing weight, well, what am I going to do here to try and further lose weight if I'm already hungry, right?
Yeah, exactly.
This is what you see with people that go very severe, again, whether knowingly or not in your case, with their calorie deficit. And, in hindsight, we can look back and we can simply say, yeah, you were under eating. You were under eating, and metabolically, that wasn't creating the efficiency. Your body had probably got used to quite a strict calorie deficit.
Yeah.
And this is a principle I've spoken about a few times on the channel called metabolic adaptation. And your body's like, nope, we're not doing this anymore.
Yeah, exactly.
It gets really clever at using those calories effectively, and you no longer lose fat.
Mm-hmm. Exactly.
By eating so little.
Yeah. Very frustrating, not knowing.
Frustrating, I imagine confusing, but then, of course, we met.
Yeah.
Or we met properly, let's say. Because you'd been following me for a little while, I believe. That's what you said.
Yeah, I had been following you for a while. I had seen you on Tia. She had a great experience with you. I watched your videos, and I had reached out, but I didn't make the decision the first time. And then I have osteoarthritis in my knee. So it's huge because the doctor's like, you need to lose 30 pounds. And I'm like, how am I going to do that? And so to have surgery or to have it taken care of. So that was a huge motivator for me that I needed to get this off. I knew I was heavy. I knew I needed to lose weight. I wasn't in any delusion that I was way overweight. But to actually have somebody say to you, you've got to do this to enhance your health and be able to really walk, it was like, yeah, I know, but I wasn't doing anything about it then, so it wasn't affecting my life in a big way until that doctor was like, oh yeah, you got to lose 30 pounds.
So it was the potential of a health scare that created that urgency in you. Is that fair to say? And the motivation? Yeah,
absolutely. He was like, I don't want to hurt your feelings. No, you're not hurting my feelings. I know I'm overweight.
And sometimes that's what we need to hear, right?
Yeah.
People are treading on eggshells in the very sort of politically correct world now. And as you said, you weren't in denial of it, but sometimes you just need the feedback. And okay, I need to do something about this, doc. Let's get to work.
But you know what else it was? I was angry with myself. I was angry with myself that I put myself in the position that I couldn't have something done that I needed done because of my weight. And I was like, what are you doing? That's crazy.
So sometimes when people, when they have a health scare, when they feel that frustration with themselves for letting, their weight go and bad habits creep in, they hit a crossroads where they either get frustrated by it and it drives change like it did for you.
Yeah.
Or they just accept and they're just like, whatever. And they use convenient excuses like, well, the damage is done now. I've only got one life. I'm going to live it. I'm going to have fun. Health is just genetics anyway. My mother had a slow metabolism. My question to you is, and we didn't even know we were going to talk about this today, but it's really fascinating stuff. I hope for people at home as well. But why didn't you just accept that? What was different about this time? Why did you go, yeah, I've got work to do? Or was it simply that word from the doctor that made you go, okay?
Well, I had already known, but, I have grandbabies and I have, some of my sons haven't had children yet. And I can't even, walk down the beach necessarily, or, I couldn't do so many things that I was like, what am I going to do? I'm going to look, much older than I am because I can't walk, and that bothered me. So him saying that, it was like, I have to have this done. I have to do this. I don't know how I'm doing it, but it needs to be done. So
it was that key in the ignition, that kick in the backside, and then you figure it out after, right? And obviously shortly after that we met, and so undereating, just to go back a couple of minutes in the conversation, undereating prior to joining Vegan, Slim and Sustain, metabolism being like, no, we're not doing this anymore. What else, though, in your recent history, last couple of years, what else have you struggled with from a food perspective? Because I'm thinking the emotional ties to food that we spent so much time talking about, the battle with cravings, the bad habits, the mindset, sometimes, I hope you don't take this the wrong way, but sometimes lack of positive thinking, which we spoke about many times throughout the program, and sort of defeatist attitude, which now you're the opposite of. Brilliant. But at the time, these were barriers to you when we first met. So can you just touch on the other struggles you had before sort of, Vegan, Slim and Sustain?
I had huge emotional stuff I didn't really even realize until I joined your program. Some of it I thought was stress eating, and you kind of pointed out that it was reward eating. So, I'd go to Burger King and get the Impossible Burger and French fries because I was stressed and I deserved it. Not sure why I deserved the junk food, but I deserved it, I had a lot of stories from my past, just a lot of stories. It's just like, everything revolves around food when you have a celebration, that kind of stuff. No, it doesn't have to. You can spend time with your family and not worry about the food. You know what I mean? That was a big one. Recipes that you pass down from your family, and now my kids don't get those. That was huge. That was like, I'm teary-eyed. Like, it's like, oh, mom doesn't make this anymore, or that anymore, but it's not healthy for you. So no, we're not having that. And I wasn't a positive thinker in the beginning. I think I'm much more positive now, much more. Like, I don't know that I felt that I deserved it in a lot of ways. It's like I was just destined to be heavy. My age had a factor in that. You always hear that women at a certain age, they just can't lose weight. My metabolism, my restrictions on exercise, like we had a big thing on that off and on. So, and a lot of restrictions, but you really helped me to navigate all those emotions and really reflect. Sometimes I didn't like you very much for making me reflect, but I was like, I'm going to be nice, but I don't want to be nice. And I got to think about this. But a lot of reflection, and it didn't just change with my eating and thinking that way and my weight. It changed my whole life. I mean, my daughter is like, the way you reflect on what you say now and apologizing. And she goes, Mom, it's not just changed the way you think about food. It's like changed your whole life.
Yeah, there's a lot there. There is a ripple effect to this, and you've experienced it, and you've heard me talk about it, I'm sure. But the way that this forces you to become self-aware about your own behavior easily can translate into other areas of life.
Oh, yeah.
And so that's obviously what you've seen. And I think the buzzword that I want to use here is responsibility. It's like, no, this is on me, and I've got to do this, and I'm in charge. And you don't always feel like it, but I'm in charge of my thoughts. I'm in charge of my habits. And look, it's really tough at the start. You can attest to that. But once you begin to change and you get the first couple of wins, and we're going to talk about, some of those early wins for you and why they were so important in just a second. But once you get a few good wins under your belt in the program, it's just that your brain lights up. It's like it starts to get addicted to that positive feedback loop. And then you start climbing. You build. I always talk about, you probably heard me say it, the momentum being this invisible force of weight loss. When clients have momentum, they feel on top of the world. They feel invincible. They're sending me messages like, Ryan, this is amazing. I'm so glad I did this. I lost 3 pounds this week. My cholesterol's dropping. My doctor's going to take me off statin. It's win, 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 and positivity. When they're in a rut or they're in a plateau or they're struggling, it's all very negative. And I don't take it personally. Like, this is my job. I'm used to dealing with it. But it's tough to see that sort of binary sort of switch in people sometimes. So I think momentum is a huge, huge thing. So for you, I suppose a nice segue is you start with me. You fill out your intake form. I design your meal plan over a couple of days. I get that back to you for Monday of week 1. We had a bit of a quick start, didn't we, you and I? We book our first coaching call in that first week. You start adhering to the steps via trainer. I set you the step targets and the slow go cardio method. What was thinking back to those first few weeks, I know it's a couple of months ago, but last year rather, what do you remember as being sort of the easiest things and sort of the let's say the easiest wins and victories early on in the program?
Oh gosh, I think the easiest was that you did a meal plan. That was super easy. Knowing what I was going to eat, I think you give us 2 choices the first week that we can choose from. So knowing exactly what I was going to eat, that was easy. Having everything for it. The meals were simple to prepare. They were good, super good. And so that was really good. The accountability, being accountable to you is huge for me. And I think we talked about that before. I'm kind of a people pleaser. So man, I didn't want to upset you with anything. So that was a plus for me to be a people pleaser. And I really wanted this to work. And I really put my all into it, but it was just, like I said, you were really easy to reach on Trainer Eyes. You answered my questions right away, and like I said, the meal plan, the food's good. You don't have to be so extravagant. It can be simple and it can be good. And I didn't have to worry about that. And that was huge. So, I knew what I was going to eat for breakfast and lunch. And, I work, so I take that with me. I knew what I was going to eat for dinner, So it was simple. And the simpler it was, the easier it was for me. I still stick to those meals. I'm still eating the same things because
from the program, months and months ago. Yeah.
So,
and I think that's that willingness to be repetitive with meals. When I see that in a new client, I'm like, oh, this is brilliant. This is going to be a fantastic client to work with, because they're not a self-labeled foodie. They don't feel like they need loads and loads of variety. They're not necessarily putting the taste of meals or the enjoyment of meals on a special pedestal where everything has to taste delightful and they need loads of different flavors and textures all the time. Like, just that willingness to be like, no, this is functional. This is just for fuel. I'm not gonna worry about it tasting like gourmet Michelin star food all the time. Just give me stuff that is practical and easy.
yeah.
And you always resonated with that. So thank you for that.
Mm-hmm.
Good. Yeah, I mean, there's a lot you've covered there. There's a lot you've covered there, but no, good. Thank you. I think that's all helpful stuff for people to hear. I asked you what was the easiest part, so we talked about the accountability, simplicity, that sort of thing. What was the hardest part of those opening weeks? I imagine, not to be presumptuous and put words in your mouth, I imagine you're going to say some of our conversations, because even when you and I got on like a house on fire, I feel, maybe you'll disagree, there were moments where, I think we were both in our heads thinking, oh, have I risked offending the other person? Because the nature of talking about, like we said earlier, emotional eating, cravings, limiting beliefs, self-sabotage. You expressed a couple of minutes ago feelings of deserving around having a slim body. Yeah. These are difficult subjects. So I'm being presumptuous there. What was the hardest part of those opening weeks?
So the main thing that was the hardest was I was living in a household. I live with my daughter and son-in-law and my two babies. Now my grandbabies and my daughter are vegan. They weren't, obviously, she wasn't on the program. And then my son-in-law is not. But I swear they ordered pizza that week. I felt like it was like more than ever. And like pizza's like a downfall for me. And I was like, are you kidding me right now? So, and then my daughter usually cooked because she stays home and I work. And then I had to prepare my own meals. And I remember, I think I even messaged you at one point, and I was like, gosh, just preparing this food is just like, I have to do this every day. And I remember you saying to me, well, I don't understand the problem. And then you said something and you go, is it just laziness? And that was one of those moments where I was like, gosh.
I hate this guy.
I hate him, but he's right. I'm just being lazy. Yeah, I am. I didn't want to have to do that when I came home from work, and it wasn't about time.
No, it wasn't about time. But what was more difficult, though, based on what you're saying here, is you had it, not intentionally, but it was being rubbed in your face. Your old lifestyle or habits from your old lifestyle, that was being rubbed in your face, not intentionally, I'm sure. But I'm sure they weren't like, Mom, eat this pizza waiting in front of you. I hope not, anyway. But, I think had you not have seen that, it would have been much easier to stay motivated to do the prep. It's only because you had a clear sort of view of the other side of things, the other options. That convenience was so thrust in your face that you were like, oh, I hate that I have to do all this work. But if that was normal in your household, I don't think it would have been a big deal to you.
Right. Yeah. Like I'm making the pasta dish on the stove and the pizza's next to me, and my son-in-law's like on his plate. And I'm like,
So how did you get through that then? What tips do you have? Because there'll be a lot of people at home that, and I know this from having interactions with my audience. There's a lot of people at home watching this right now going, oh my goodness, that's me. I'm trying to eat healthily, but it feels like people are enabling my bad food choices by eating X, Y, and Z in my kitchen, my household. Do you have any advice to those folks? Like, what did you do that worked so well in those opening weeks?
It's funny. I think, we had talked about you talk about it in your videos too, I think, about motivation and discipline.
Sure.
And you were like, motivation kind of wanes. And I'm like, yeah, okay, Ryan, motivation kind of wanes. But then it was like, I know my daughter had got Burger King for the kids at a softball game, and they were sitting in the car, and she goes, are you going to be okay? Are you going to be okay? Yeah, sure, I'm fine. And then I smelled those French fries, and I was like, oh, now I just want to kill them. But no, not literally, but you know what I mean. And I didn't touch any of it, and I didn't eat any of it. And I was like, this is discipline. This is discipline. This isn't motivation. This is just, I'm going to do this. I don't care what they're doing. This is what I'm doing. And like I said, on the program, when my son-in-law did that, it was earlier in the program, but I wanted to know that it worked. So I wanted you to have all the information from me and to be able to say to you, I have followed the plan. So for me, it was kind of like, I want to see if this plan of Ryan's works, number one, because I watched you and I saw you, but we hadn't built, a huge relationship at that point. And I was like, for me to know if this works or not, I have to stick to this. I have to, or he's not going to know. He's not going to know if it's working or not working for me. And I want him to be able to troubleshoot if it's not. So for me, that was a big thing. Yeah.
And that's, there's many, many things that I enjoyed in my time working with you. But one thing, sincerely, that made you a pleasure is your compliance was fantastic. And I know you might have a slightly contrary story where you're like, oh, but on week 7, I did this, and week 12, I made this mistake. But honestly, overall, your compliance was absolutely fantastic. And I suppose what you're saying there is, how can you judge something? How can you judge if a program, a method is actually going to help you if you don't give it a fair shot? So you think that was the belief that helped, or one of the beliefs that helped your consistency? In your head, you're like, okay, everyone around me is eating poorly. I'm not going to do that because I've paid this money. I want to make sure this works. I want to see if it works.
Yeah. Oh, definitely. Definitely. That accountability with you, you know what I mean? Like, but yeah, you pay for the program. You know what I mean? You're like, I'm paying this money, and it took me a while to decide to do it. I was like, darn,
you don't want to waste it. It's a big decision. It's an investment. Yeah.
And I was like, nope, I'm doing this for me. So I made that decision to do it for me. And it's probably one of the few times in my life where I've made a decision for myself to do something for myself and not just my kids. And like, no, this is for me and I need to do this. So yeah, so I was going to make sure that whatever I was doing that you could see, if in fact it was working for me or not. And I didn't want to veer off. I think I even had trouble going out for my birthday. Like you were like, it's your birthday. Have fun.
Yes, I remember. Now you've said it. I've forgotten that. Now you said it. I remember. I actually had to convince you to go out to eat, ironically.
Yeah, exactly.
That's an important point. Let's come on to that. I wasn't planning to. It's a nice segment. Let's come on to that for people at home. I want to make it very clear when I talk about my program. I want to make it clear to people this isn't some Puritan thing where I expect them to only, SOS, oil-free constantly every single meal around the clock. I'm strict, as you know. I'm strict. Yeah. But there are chances in the program to bend the rules. Yeah. How was that sort of finding that balance? How was that for you? Was that difficult?
It was. Like, I think I was more of a Puritan. Unlike, like you said, you can go out, you can do, you can have a meal out. I don't think I ever did until I think it was my birthday. And even then I was very careful. I'm like, oh, but I'm not going to lose, as much weight as I want to lose this week. I was very motivated that scale had to move. And if I veered, it wasn't going to move, even though you told me it was not a problem. I'm like, oh, can I have a glass of wine? I don't think so. And you're like, yes, have a glass of wine, So I was my daughter would say, you didn't stray. Like you were just on it, and she's like, Mom, you can do this, but for me, this was an opportunity in my life and my health to really get this done. Like I wanted to get this done. I wanted to know it worked. And, it's not necessarily.
What's not a good thing? That you were all in like that. Yeah.
I mean, all in, that was a good thing, but not allowing myself to, like I said, for my birthday, that was stressful for me and it shouldn't have been, you know what I mean? So I kind of made myself really restricted, but I kind of do the same thing now, but now I'm just not interested. I don't really care to go out.
There is a difference between saying no to things and it feels like sacrifice. Yeah. And this happens when you're very early on in your journey. It's like everything feels so forced. It feels so sacrificed. Say no, to miss the meals out, etc., to not have the pizza when it's right in front of you.
Yeah.
But after a time, it becomes like genuine disinterest. You're like, no, I don't really want that anymore. Yeah. And there is no, there's no. How can I phrase this? There's no right or wrong on this, Robin. There's no, in terms of how much should you bend the rules? How often should you eat out? I have my rules of thumb, don't I? In the program, I talk about this once weekly meal out rule. I always give this phrase, it's 1 in 21 meals, don't sweat it. It's 1 in 21. If you're having 3 meals a day, it's 1 in 21 meals. You probably heard me say that a million times.
Yeah.
And, but as much as I stand by that, that doesn't mean you need to use the 1 in 21 meals. But I do remember, now we're talking about it, I do remember with you thinking, oh, I think maybe you're too bubble wrapped. I think maybe we're too protective. And when you actually have to go out in the real world, and when you don't have the accountability, and the boundaries of a very clear program and a clear structure, I was probably worried that you might struggle a bit because you hadn't learned that bounce back ability. You hadn't learned, again, I hate this term because it's so overused or incorrectly used nowadays, but balance. You hadn't found that balance yet. You hadn't learned, as I always say, how to bend the rules. And that was the fear. Where are you at with that now then, since the program? You saying you don't eat out very much anymore, but now it's different because it's from a place of disinterest, so it doesn't feel difficult?
Yeah. I mean, we have some times out and stuff, different events. My son graduated from, a program, and we all went out to eat. And I think I probably had an Impossible Burger or something, you know what I mean? But like I said, I learned back early in the program that it was more about being around people. So even when I do go out, it's not as much of a focus for me to like, oh, I've got to eat this whole thing, and oh, I want this, and oh, I want that. It's just
not about the food. Yeah, it's about the company, the people, the social experience. Yeah.
Yeah, because I
and sorry, with that particular example, I don't know if you can recall it precisely, but when you had the Impossible Burger, was it hard to go back to your plan? After that, was it hard to go back?
No.
Why?
Yeah, no, it's just a moment in time. It's just easy to go back. It's not the same as before. It's not really
what happened before?
I think it was more of a treat. Oh, I get to eat this. I know it tastes so good. But I think as you go along in the program too, though, your taste changed too. So it just doesn't quite taste the same anymore. You kind of like the vegetables and the beans and you know what I mean? They taste better. I mean, even recently, ketchup. I don't like the taste of ketchup. Like, I can taste the clove in it. And I'm like, ketchup doesn't taste the same anymore. It's funny how your taste change, but we've had birthdays where I've had a little bit of cake and I just don't have as big of a piece, a smaller piece of it, or, you just learn what you can and cannot. You just learn what you can and cannot do. You know what I mean? You just don't go crazy.
You learn through experience, through making mistakes, frankly, where your boundary is.
Yeah.
Oh no, this will be too much cake, or oh no, I ate something off plan yesterday, so I'm not going to eat something off plan today because that's slightly too back to back. That might lead to the slippery slope. You learn to separate them. So let's do this. Let's literally come up with, for people at home watching, let's come up with two or three or four maybe tips on how to avoid the slippery slope, because that's what we're talking about here. We're talking about going off plan, but then returning to plan. Mm-hmm. And I think one thing you've shared here is, through making mistakes, you learn when you go too far. So use that experience and that knowledge. Yeah. What else do you think we would say? And I'll chip in here as well. But what else would we say to people at home to get them to, avoid the slippery slope?
Well, I think sometimes you beat yourself up over the fact that you've eaten something that probably isn't the best thing for you, and then that puts you in a mindset, almost like well, I don't deserve it. Well, I've already done this. I might as well just keep going. I might as well have what I want. I've already messed up. It's not really messing up. It's just eating something different than you should have. You just have to keep going. Then, the next meal, you do the same thing. You don't skip it. You just do what you're supposed to do. And it's so easy, to get back on it when you think that way, instead of, oh, well, I messed up. Let's just keep going. I'm just going to keep eating the junk. It's just it doesn't work that way. So I think a lot of it's like an emotional, mental thing.
Of course, obviously. Yeah. I mean, it's also the taste component and the taste buds, the gut bacteria. But no, I think largely it's a mental and emotional battle. I think you're right.
Oh, absolutely. I think so. I just get right back on it. Get right back on that horse, man.
Get back on the wagon. But the particular point you're making is one way to get back on the wagon, ensure you get back on the wagon, is you don't dwell on it as a massive blip. And you just say, well, I've had an off-plan meal, back to it now.
Yeah. Yeah.
Which is obviously easier said than done. It needs a bit of work to build that habit.
Yeah. But you haven't, we're all human beings. You haven't done anything wrong. We all slip up. That's a fact in our life, period. Everything. you just keep going, don't quit because, oh, you messed up one meal. Who cares?
Yeah. And
just keep going.
That's where, and this is something at home, I want people watching this to remember this. This is a little mantra you can say to yourself. I just said it 5 minutes ago, 1 in 21. Let's say meal out a week. Let's say it is something like an Impossible Burger. Let's say it is a treat. Let's say, quote unquote, it is way more calorific than you would usually eat. Creamy, greasy, rich, all the bad stuff, let's say. It's 1 in 21 meals. It's 1 in 21 meals. It is not enough to ruin all the good progress you made that week. It might make that day tricky to remain in a calorie deficit, but it's not enough to ruin the entire week. So don't dwell on it too much.
No, and I think sometimes, and I was in that mind space, I don't think you'll remember, I expected to lose this much a week and that much a week. And, oh my gosh. So something like that, me going off for one meal could have thrown me into an emotional tailspin of, oh, I've ruined my whole week. I've just ruined it. I'm not going to lose weight because of that one meal, and it was like, that's crazy thinking. It's consistent. You constantly say consistency. Consistency is what gets you there. So that really got beat into me. And I know that if I have a meal that's not, what I typically would have, or if I go out to eat or whatever, it's not about that one meal. It's about the consistency that I have throughout. So that's the huge, it's not about one meal. It's about what you do consistently.
Yeah. And I think it's worth adding here. You're so right. The thing I would add to that is you need the right plan to make the consistency mean something. So with you, we made your done for you plant-based meal plan. It addressed all the under eating problems you had prior to working with me. We got you out of the plateau. Mm-hmm. So you had the plan, but the only way we could prove that plan was useful for weight loss every week, just by our accountability systems, the weight tracker, et cetera, was with your compliance, with your consistency. And there is a difference, as I always say, between perfection and consistency. We don't need perfection on the program. We shoot towards it. It's a good ideal. But, if you make mistakes, even intentional mistakes, like you decide, okay, next week I've got a birthday party and I'm going to have X, Y, Z, or I might, when I go on a date with a lovely young lady, I might have a gin and tonic, for example. That's not necessarily impulsive because you've planned it out, it's premeditated. But whether it's a mistake that you planned or not, if it's still 1 in 21 meals, or let's say 2 at a push, or let's say you have one bad day in 7, it won't be enough to disrupt progress unless you believe it is enough to disrupt progress, and it gives you permission to just open the floodgates.
Yep.
Now I'm going to eat everything because I. Can we talk about plateaus very quickly? What was your experience with those on the program? How many plateaus do you remember hitting?
Oh gosh. I mean, I did 2 sessions with you, so I don't think it was that many, though. I think it was like maybe 4 at the most, but I don't even know if it was that many.
Yeah, and frankly, to be honest, I can't remember. I didn't do my research, Robin. I think in my head I had it as 3. In 24 weeks, I believe you had approximately 3. Let's go with that. Do you remember what we did to actually overcome those? Do you remember how we got through them?
I do. So originally you just cut some things out. Like, I think first it might have been from my lunch or my dinner. I don't know. One of those you would do that. You would take minimize how many beans I had, or, you do just a very small adjustment. Then I think the third one, that's when you were like exercise. And I was like, wait a minute, I can't exercise. That was a monumental moment. And you were like, really? You can't do anything? And I was like, oh, that one.
You already knew where my mind was going. It's like, we can do upper body stuff. We can do other stuff that doesn't cause pain. Yeah.
Yeah. But for me in my head, it was like, oh, how dare you? You really made me reflect. That was a real trigger for me. No, and I was like, then I was like, he's right. I can do something. So I started I didn't want to do them because I thought it would make me look old. I started doing YouTube chair exercises. Yeah. And I did that for, I think, the third one I was in, and it worked. And but yeah, I really pushed against that one and really had to reflect at what my trigger was and why I was so upset about it. So.
Yeah, well, these are hard conversations, and you always stuck with me and you let me challenge you, even if maybe sometimes I rubbed you the wrong way because I'm so blunt. You know I care about you, but I am so blunt sometimes, especially over text. It's difficult. Face to face, it's different because you can hear the tonality, you can see the body language, but yeah, it's difficult over text. So thanks for your trust and thanks for sticking with me on it. But people at home are going to think I'm really rude. I'm not rude, just to be clear. I'm not rude, but it's when you have to confront people on problems, like it can be difficult for people to digest and read. So sorry, the theme here with plateaus then, or one of the things that I want to relay to people at home is every plateau we took you through, we made very minor changes. Like you're saying, we changed the beans. I don't remember that particular example, but that sounds possible. But basically, or we just upped the exercise slightly. We introduced some workout, and minor changes in the grand scheme of things kept the scale moving. And this is so important to tell people at home that hitting plateaus and either A, just giving up because they're like, oh, my body's done, which I get really ranty about. I'm like, no, don't accept that. You just need to make a tweak, as you know now. And so either A, accepting, no, plateau is evidence that my body's done here, I'm stubborn, I'll never be able to do this. Or B, they do actually have a troubleshooting mindset, but they're way too aggressive and they think, oh, now I need to intermittent fast, I need to skip a meal, or I need to take, whether knowingly or not, take 3 or 4 or 500 calories from my diet, or now I need to do a juice fast. And it's like, and now you'll agree with me on this, no.
Yeah.
Like 50, 70, 80, depending on your body weight, 80 calories, reduce the daily diet, or a couple of little increases with exercise frequently, and that's all that you actually need to keep the scale moving.
Yeah, and I didn't really believe you.
No, until we did it, of course. Yeah,
I was like, yeah, okay, Ryan.
Yeah, sure. Well, okay, you're telling me to go from 1 cup of rice to 3/4 of a cup, and that's really going to lead to weight loss? But it does.
It does, which is great. I mean, that's a great thing to know now, But yeah, I probably would have been one of those people that was like, oh, I got to cut all this out and I got to do this. And so, yeah, I was kind of like, okay, we'll see, Ryan. And yeah, of course, you proved yourself right again. And I was like, oh, crap.
How do you feel now you're doing this on your own? How do you feel? In terms of mentality towards plateaus, how do you feel about them now? Because they scare the living daylights out of people when they first start hitting them. And it's funny because I have a totally different experience. I'm so used to every day a client or 2 or 3 being in a plateau. I'm so used to then tweaking something and then watching them get through the plateau. It's not always perfectly smooth, but ultimately we get them through the plateau. I'm so used to it that I'm so relaxed about plateaus. I'm like, yeah, it's a normal, I know it's a normal part of weight loss. This is what I do. Like, we get people through plateaus. I've done it myself when I lost weight. I hit plateaus. I know what it takes, and I know they're not actually a big deal. But people, individual clients, the first time they hit a plateau, it's, oh my goodness, what's going on? There's something wrong here. I can't believe I hit a plateau. And I'm like, chill out. It's fine. This is normal. This is part of the course. What's your attitude now towards them?
Well, yeah, I was one of those clients when I thought I was hitting a plateau. I think I was all over it with you. And I was like, you're like, oh, you're usually pretty good. But you notice when it's not going well, you kind of get a little, and I'm like, yeah, I do. But
that's what we talked about with momentum earlier, right at the start. I mentioned momentum. Yeah.
And then as soon as you hit that plateau, you're like, oh, come on, Ryan, what's going on?
Yeah. And what's wrong? All the self-doubt. Can I do this? Is it ever possible for me to, even if I lose a little bit more weight, I'll hit a plateau again and then I'll be done, right?
Yeah. And well, and I couldn't exercise at that time. I wasn't doing anything. And I remember saying to you, you said I could do this without having to do this exercise. Yeah. So it was a question in my mind, you know what I mean? And then now it's okay. Like, I still have a pretty long way to go. I mean, I've done really well and I'm super proud of myself, but I still have a ways to go. And I know as I get closer to my goal, it's probably going to take me a little bit longer, but it's okay. Like, it's okay. I'm working on it. I'm working on it every day, every week, every month. And if it takes a little bit longer and I hit a plateau, that 2-week period that used to, in the beginning, was like, oh, I'm just going to die.
Yeah.
It isn't such a big deal anymore because it's a way of life. It's going to happen. And in the beginning, it was like, it needs to happen now. And I think a lot of people that are overweight is like, oh, I need to lose 5 pounds in a week or it's not any good. And that was kind of my mindset, and now it's like, if I lose a pound, that's okay. Even if I lose 0.8, I'm still not freaking. You know what I mean? I would have freaked out before, but now I know this is how I eat. This is what I do. And it's okay. Yeah, it's okay if it takes a little longer.
Yeah, and until you get to that point where you're like, no, this is what I do now, until you get that feeling, it is easy to be very short-termist about the numbers. Mm-hmm. It is, because sometimes at first we're only doing it for the numbers, and then all of the other stuff takes over, and we get so addicted to the process. We get so addicted to how good and nourished and full of beans, and I don't mean literally, but also literally, but full of life, full of vitality. We get so addicted to that feeling so nourished that, you know, it's a no-brainer to stay on track even when you plateau. Whereas when you're only obsessed about the numbers, when you're very needy about, oh, I've got to lose 20 pounds in, you know, X amount of time, whether it's realistic or not, whenever something goes wrong, it's easy to throw your toys out the pram because there's nothing else anchoring you to this process. It was only ever about the numbers. So when the numbers don't do what you want them to do, even if your expectation is ridiculous, you're just like, screw this, screw this. But when you actually also feel the benefits health-wise, habit, when you had, frankly, your health scare, you know, that probably had fed in, you know, the health motives. So you were not going to go off track just because the numbers were going wrong.
Right. It just, like I said, in the beginning, it bothered me. It did. It took work for that not to bother me anymore. Like, you know, in the beginning, I was like, yeah, okay, this is not making me happy. But I think I was focused on those numbers.
Yes.
I was focused on them a lot, you know, and now it's like, it's the way I eat. That's how I feel.
This is what Robin does.
Yeah. And if it takes me some time to get the rest of this off, then it does. And that's okay. You know, and granted, I've lost quite a bit, so it's easy to say that now, but it's been a process. And
why don't you tell, sorry, we didn't do this. Why don't you tell people at home how much you've lost in the last year?
In the last year, I've lost like 57 pounds. So
yeah, that's incredible. Like that is literally an amount that makes you look like a different person. I mean, it is. It's almost a child. That's the weight of a child. What about your daughter? We forgot to mention that early on. We said we were going to mention that. But what about
I had been on the program for like 2 months. She was already vegan. And she watched me and I kept saying, you know, you can do this. You can do this too. You might have to eat a little more than me. You're younger, you know, whatever, but try it. And she was pretty like, yeah, no, okay, whatever, mom. I mean, I think it took her about 2 months and she started doing it. And she's lost almost 42 pounds. So,
incredible.
Yeah. Yeah.
And just watching what you were doing and sort of loosely following. It's like amazing.
Yeah. It took her 2 months, but it took her 2 months to watch me. And then she was like, oh no, she's not going to get thinner than me. There's no way. There's no way this is happening. So it was good competition.
Yeah, why not? Why not? Like, and again, how much easier is it when there's finally, I mean, we talked, you know, half an hour ago about the battles of feeling like you're isolated in your journey and everyone else in your household is ordering takeout.
Yeah.
How much easier is it now to have someone aligned with how you eat in your house?
Yeah, absolutely. It's so much. It is easier. It definitely.
You don't need it. Like you have become accountable to yourself, so you don't need that now. You might have done earlier on, but you don't need it now. But it's nice to have that, isn't it?
Yeah. It's very nice to have it. Yeah, and it's nice to see her doing it younger and not being me, like older and trying to do it. You know, I'm so happy that she's taking care of this and learning it and, you know, realizing how she can get this weight off and keep it off and be a healthier, younger person up till she gets to my age and further.
Yeah, not go into 40s, 50s, 60s or already overweight because it's so hard. Once you're overweight, once the damage is done, it's not impossible. These are the people that I help all the time, but it's so hard.
Yeah.
Versus, and this is always my battle cry to, if there's any 20-year-olds watching my videos, which is a very small percentage of my audience, sadly. But it's like, get this done now. I am so glad that I nailed this. I've been 8 years vegan now. I'm so glad I nailed this at like 21, 22. So because it's done, it's autopilot, and I just know, there is an absolute trust that I will never be overweight. I just know it. I feel it. I really believe that when I say that, and that's what you're on the verge of experiencing as well, I'm sure.
Oh yeah, absolutely, absolutely, and it's awesome. And if people can do it younger, most definitely, and you're just going to feel so much better. Your health is going to be better. You're not going to run into all these heart issues and diabetes, and I mean, there's just so many different things from being overweight. And sometimes people aren't overweight, but they're just not eating right. Like they're not extremely overweight, but they're just putting so much junk into their body that's just not good for us, you know? So, yeah.
Yeah, I mean, we're just talking about it from a weight loss frame, but you're absolutely right. It's health too, obviously.
Yeah.
This is going to sound slightly random, but I'm just going to loop back to something you said 5 minutes ago. I just want to make it clear to anyone watching, just something about Vegan, Slim and Sustain, my program itself. It isn't an exercise-free program, just going back to what you said about plateaus. I just want to make that clear to people. There are steps and there are workouts built into my program, but of course with yourself, we had to do customizations because of medical conditions. Yeah. So I just want to make that clear to people. When I said to Robin, we're not going to have to do exercise, that's not something that applies to all of my clients. I just want to make that clear. We do exercise as well. Yeah.
I was worried about that. No, and the thing is that if I could have done, I wanted to do all those exercises so badly. Yeah. And if I could have, man, I really would have killed it. You know, that's the way I feel. I'm like, man, I really would have killed it. It made me so frustrated, you know, and I'm doing the exercise that I could have done. And it might have come off more quickly than what it has, even though it's been it's been quick to me. But yeah.
It's been quick anyway, but yeah, you might have been a couple more pounds ahead, but it's not worth losing sleep over.
No.
And I remember us having conversations about that as well. And I think just 10 seconds on this, there are, without speaking disparagingly about anyone else in this community, there are a lot of other teachers and coaches. Their programs and their methods, exercise is not touched with a barge pole. And I never understand it. I don't understand why. Yes, we all agree that it is mostly nutrition, and that's the biggest sort of factor in the weight loss equation. But exercise can really aid you getting into a calorie deficit. But beyond that, how awesome does it actually feel from a mental and physical well-being perspective to do exercise as well? It isn't just about the scale, and you know this as well.
No, it's not. I mean, the exercise, the diet, you know, the plan, I'm going to say diet, because to me, it's a plan. I mean, it's what you're eating. You're eating healthy. So I don't like to say diet. And, you know, the big thing for me from you was the emotional component. You actually addressed it. Yeah. That's awesome. Nobody really addresses that emotional, you know, all the backstory stuff, all the stuff that you're going through. Nobody really addresses that. And that was huge. And like I said, you pushed my buttons a lot, but I'm grateful for it. You know, like you said, you can come off kind of brash or whatever. I loved it. Like you know, even though sometimes I get upset, I'd be like, I'm not answering him right now because he just doesn't know what I'm going to say to him. But it worked for me. Like it was awesome. And you were honest and you were caring. You did care. And by being honest, you cared, you know, you didn't let me get away with all those little things that I was going through.
No way. It's not happening. Yeah, no way.
But you got to be transparent. That was a big thing. You said that in the beginning, you know, you have to be transparent with me. So I was transparent with you. You were probably like, oh my gosh, she's being way too transparent. These things are
not at all. There's no such thing as too much transparency. Like, there isn't, is there, by its definition? But no, not at all. Thank you. I said this earlier, but again, you know, you're being very nice to me here, but, you know, I have to pay respects to you back. Like, you let me challenge you. And I always talk about this idea to new clients of leaving your ego at the door, because you've got a teacher now. And a lot of us after school, we don't have a teacher. So you have to, and especially, I'm a little whippersnapper, you know. The majority of my clients are infinitely wiser and more experienced than me and older than me. And so it probably is a slightly strange dynamic sometimes, having this little whippersnapper from the UK ranting at them, like, don't do this, don't do this. But when you leave your ego at the door, you can actually grow because you can actually be challenged. And you do that excellently. How did your experience on Vegan, Slim and Sustain, briefly, how did that compare to other methods you'd tried in the past? What was different, good and bad? I'm not trying to censor this, so you just tell me the good part, but how did it compare?
You know, I think some of the programs are tight. We did the 50-50 plate. We did the whole, like, I say we, because my daughter and I did a lot of this together. I did, you know, you can eat all the plants you want, you know, just as long as you eat plants. And you know, and I went really, really strict. All we were eating was potatoes. We weren't eating pasta. We weren't eating rice. We weren't doing bread. We weren't doing oil. We weren't doing fat, like no fat, like no nuts, no.
But just worth saying, we don't do oil anyway, but avocados, nuts, seeds.
No, we don't. Yeah, but I mean, in a point with us, where we just went like strict, like totally strict. Some of the meals and some of the plans are so bland. They're really like Puritan, like, you know what I mean? There's like no flavor, it just didn't resonate. And you do like a tahini dressing, which was a game changer because we already did that. And I was like, oh my gosh, we get tahini. Like, and I like I said before, I questioned you on the fat stuff. Really, Ryan? Like I can have this. I could have bread. I remember saying to you at one point, I didn't say I couldn't. I just said I have a sandwich every day.
Sure.
And you're like, you can have a sandwich every day at lunch.
It's in your meal plan. Do it. Trust it. Yeah.
Yeah. But the bread thing, all that stuff, like we took out, so I've tried multiple different programs, that it just didn't work. It didn't resonate. It wasn't right for me. People didn't talk about, I mean, they do talk about calorie deficit, but they don't really give you any guidance on it.
It's slightly vague. Yeah. It is. A lot of people just say in this community, just put loads of plants on your plate and you'll be fine. And full well, that's not that straightforward.
You can't. I mean, we even did juicing at one point. I mean, it's just, I tried everything. I really did try everything. And I had a lot of knowledge, but I didn't know what to do with it.
Yeah.
I didn't know what to do with it. And you kind of showed me and I was like, oh, I should be having some form of beans or lentils or whatever. And I'm Italian. I don't have whole wheat pasta. And now
that's not real pasta. That doesn't count.
I hated it. It was so disgusting. I was like, no. And now that's what I eat. It's not disgusting, and brown rice. Yeah, right. Okay. And, I do that now. But being Italian, man, you have bread, you have oil, you have all that stuff,
How did you get over, we talked about the fat. And again, just not to manage the conversation too much, but just for people watching at home, I don't advocate for a high-fat diet. As you know, you were still having a very low-fat diet. It wasn't a huge amount of avocado nuts and seeds. But when I introduced them, people are terrified. If they come from like a starch solution, 50-50 plate background, people are terrified. And then after a week or two on the program, they're like revolutionized. They are like, wow. They are like, not only do I feel better, I feel more satisfied. I feel like a greater ability to put my fork down and say, I'm done because I've had a little bit of that satiating fat. But also when they watch the scale drop, they're like, and they can eat avocado and extend this to bread and processed foods like pasta and cereal as well. They're like, oh, it's fine. It's okay. I'm still here. I'm still alive. It doesn't actually affect my progress like I thought it would.
Yeah.
So how did you get over the carb phobia? Sorry, not the carb phobia, the fat phobia rather.
I think the proof was in the pudding because, like I said, I did reach out to you and go, "You sure that I can have this avocado and this Ryan? That's fat, because I had like removed.
Fat you eat is the fat you wear, right?
Yeah, it was like that's your mentality is I can't possibly have this fat, and then like you said, just trust it. Yes, this is fine, So then you do it, and like you said, and then the scale, starts dropping, and you're like, oh, so. It was pretty exciting that I could have those things, though. It sounds terrible because it's not a lot, but just you can have it. It's like, oh, I can have an avocado sandwich,
So when I asked that question 5 minutes ago, like, what was it about Vegan, Slim and Sustain that clicked so much? Like, how did your experience compare to other methods? For you, I don't want to put words in your mouth, but just to summarize everything you've said, the thing that stands out is it felt less restricted, I want to say. Like it felt less limited. It's weird because in my head, I'm still like pretty strict. And I it's just, I do have my own slight sort of nuanced views on things, but generally it's a whole foods plant-based diet and with a couple of Ryan Adams tweaks, but generally it's the main fundamentals of a whole foods plant-based diet.
Yeah.
But is it fair to say it's less rules and that made it more enjoyable for you? You could actually enjoy the meals more because there were more practical foods like breads, just so easy to make those sandwiches for lunch, so easy. And then taste-wise, to have a bit of that fat. Was that it, you think? I think so.
And like a tablespoon of maple syrup in the oats. Yeah. Like I wouldn't have done that before. I wanted to, but I wouldn't have done it. It would have been like,
to be fair, I think like McDougall advises that, but a lot of people, they get so Puritan that they're terrified about it and they don't do it.
Yeah, absolutely. And the sandwiches were a game changer for me. Your hummus, it's awesome. Like it has tahini in it too. And I'm like, I have that.
You lose weight eating it. Yeah.
I have that like almost every day for lunch, but My daughter has it, and my grandchildren didn't really like hummus. They love your hummus. Like, I'm like, guys, there's no hummus left, and the kids have eaten it with their veggies. You know what I mean? So that was a huge game changer to be able to make a sandwich and take it to work, and it's good and it's filling, and you have a piece of fruit with it. And so, yeah, that was big. I think you allowed me to be able to have those things. But I wouldn't have allowed myself, because I was like, oh no, Ryan.
Yeah, and for me, it's no problem. Like, I'd run the numbers, I'd done the math. When I was doing the meal planning, I knew this would work. And there's always a bit of trial and error. There can be some teething issues in the first week or two. But I knew if we stuck with this would work, and it did. And so as soon as you start seeing that scale moving, you have a little bit more trust in the program. I know you trusted me at first, otherwise you wouldn't have signed up, right? With a stranger from the internet. But that, hopefully you felt more trust after you start seeing that scale move, and you go, okay, maybe this guy does know his stuff, right? This works.
Well, you got me. I was in that plateau, and the first week I was out of it. So that was, when
ironically, eating more food.
Yes. Yeah. Because I messaged you and I said, this is too much pasta.
Yeah.
I can't possibly eat all this pasta. I can't possibly eat this. It was more filling foods, because I was eating whole wheat pasta. I was eating, a whole wheat, like brown rice. I was eating things that were fiber filled.
Yes.
With the vegetables and the fruits and so it was filling me more, and the beans and all of those things. Just the combination of everything made me full. I wasn't hungry, So that was big. And drinking the water, because that was the other thing. I was probably drinking some of my calories.
Right.
Drinking more calories than I should have. Oh, juice. Oh, this. So the water was a big thing too. That's all I drink now is water. Which I hated water.
As you know, we have juices and smoothies on the program. They're part of meal plans. But yeah, I do think a lot of people report back that they feel a greater degree of satisfaction when they're actually chewing, which makes perfect sense to me. Yeah.
Yeah. Oh, absolutely.
If you had to sort of sum up, and we may have already touched on this stuff, so we might be going in circles. Just your couple of biggest wins, breakthroughs, because I've got a list of 2 or 3 breakthroughs that I've observed with you. I want to see how they line up. For you, what do you think the biggest wins or breakthroughs were?
Oh, gosh. What were my biggest wins and breakthroughs?
I've covered a lot of them already, but just to sum it up. Yeah.
I mean, I think the emotional component was huge for me. I really do. I think really you really challenged me to reflect on myself, to figure out why I had eaten the way I did, why I gave up when I did, my stories, how I grew up eating. I mean, the emotional component, I always say this, nobody talks about it. And it's huge. I mean, geez, I'm 59 years old. I've been doing this for 59 years the wrong way. You know what I mean? So that was a huge thing. So that was a huge breakthrough. I think that, also the eating, not getting upset because I'm not losing like 5 pounds a week, or, a pound is fine. Like that mentality of this is for the long haul.
Yeah.
This is how I eat. This is what I do. Those types of things, that has made my life less stressful and less hard on myself. Because I think I was super hard on myself, really hard on myself. I think I disappointed myself quite a bit here and there through the program, a little bit, that you weren't disappointed in me, but I was harsh on myself.
And isn't that interesting when you have a higher standard, not standard actually, you have a higher amount of weight you'd like to lose every week than your coach has in mind for you. Isn't that interesting? Yeah.
It is. And I remember you saying sometimes, like, I do this, like I do this for a living. Like, you're okay. Like, you're good. And it was like,
almost like, why are you out thinking me? Why are you deciding that your opinion on how much weight you should be losing is more important than mine? And I didn't mean to sound condescending, but it's like, this is what I do. Trust me, Robin.
Yeah, exactly. But, I thought I knew better, oh no, I should, but I was in that mindset, Ryan, of I have to do this.
Impatience. I need this to come on.
I do. Yeah, I do, and that has changed now. And I mean, it's been a process of that changing, but as you start to lose that weight, you build that confidence, you feel better, It's easy. It just becomes easier. Your tastes change, your mentality. It's just, it's a huge thing. It's not just the diet. It's not just losing weight. It's the mentality of it. It's the living your life and feeling good. And so it's just such a huge thing. It hasn't just changed my eating. It's changed my whole life and the way I look at life.
Like you said earlier on, an hour ago, perhaps, ripple effect of this stuff. Yeah.
Huge. And you used to say that, and I was like, yeah, okay.
Yeah, sure. Yeah, this is just right. Yeah. It's because it changes your behavior, and that translates. So yeah, sorry. The question was biggest wins and breakthroughs. The two you've mentioned, one being cutting emotional ties to food, and the other being sort of expectation management and not being super impatient with the numbers and not getting downbeat about them. That's pretty much what I've said as well. I made a list of 3 things. And the first thing I wrote for you in terms of breakthroughs was finding a healthy and sort of suitably balanced, again, hate that term, balanced way to eat vegan. It wasn't too extreme or aggressive. The calorie deficit wasn't too severe, but actually, this mantra I always talk about of moderate calorie deficits, not really aggressive ones. 2, cutting your emotional ties to food. So we're on the same wavelength with that. And the third thing I put is positive self-talk. And when you came to me, I don't think you'll take offense to this. I think you'll largely agree. When you came to me, there was this sort of slightly at times, you were always upbeat. You are an upbeat personality. You're wonderful to interact with. But with regards to talking about you and your progress, there was sometimes this, I would say, almost defeatist, almost self-pitying attitude. Do you think that's a bit harsh, or do you think I'm fair with that?
I think you're fair.
Yeah.
Lisa, woe is me. Yeah.
Woe is me type thing. And it was what was ironic about this is you'd have this attitude when you plateaued, and that was more understandable, even though, again, like I said, plateaus are normal and you shouldn't feel disappointed or stressed about them because they're normal. I can still understand why you were, but you'd also have them when you were losing weight, worried about the next plateau or worried about, oh, but it was only 1.3 pounds this week, Ryan. Like, is that good enough? And look, I want to make clear to people at home, weight loss can always be faster. We can always make it faster. But the question you and I would always discuss is it worth it? Is the juice worth the squeeze? To lose half an extra pound a week, what are the consequences of that, Robin? That's always, we can always make it faster. It's not that I don't know how to do that. It's just that I have very clear boundaries. And I know, because I've done this over 300 times, I know when I'm pushing a client too far or when they are pushing themselves too far. I can feel it. I can intuit it. I'm not a guru, but I can feel it.
Yeah.
So yeah, those are the couple of things. So I think we probably agree about all of that. Here's the big question. It's called Vegan Slim and Sustain, my program, right? It's not just called the Slim Vegan program. I don't just want to help you lose weight. I want this to be permanent for you. There's no right or wrong answer here. I don't want people at home to think, oh, well, this is clearly a testimonial, so Robin's just saying all the good stuff about the program. Here's my question. Do you think you've turned the corner now? Is this it for you?
Yeah. No, absolutely. I mean, I had like 15 weeks after stopping the program with you, which I struggled with, not wanting to leave you, and you felt like I could. So that was good. And I'm still losing weight. So yes, like you have taught me how to do this. Like you've taught me the way, showed me the way, given me the emotional support that I needed to do the breakthroughs that I needed. And am I going to be perfect? No, I'm not going to be perfect. There might be a day where I reach out to you and go, Ryan, I need a little help with this. And you're good with that, and going, yeah, let me look at that for you. So very sustainable. It's very, very sustainable. Would I have believed it? I was petrified when our session when our session stopped. Petrified, like, oh my gosh, I've got to do this on my own, and I can't talk to Ryan every day, But you believed in me, and I was like, okay, I can do this, and I have, and it makes me super. I always like to say you're an amazing coach, and you've done an amazing job with me. I'm so excited, but I can finally say I had to do it.
Yeah.
Like, you gave me the program. You gave me all the tools.
You still did the work.
But I had to do it. Yeah. Yeah. And sometimes it was harder than others, but it's so worth it. So worth it. Like, it's the best decision I have made for myself, probably ever. Like,
Big statement.
It is. It truly is, because it took me a while to make that decision to do this with you. And it's changed my life. It's changed my daughter's life. People around me are seeing, a difference and asking questions. So it's a ripple effect. And I've always told you how grateful and thankful I am to you. You're blessed. You were a blessing in my life. You came in at the right time. You really showed me, like, everything you say in your videos and the things that you promote are totally what you do. Yeah. If you can be transparent with you, really be honest with you when things aren't going right. And I could have been wrong in some of the things I said, but you listened to me, you challenged me. So yeah, definitely this is doable. And if I can do it at the age that I am, where people think you cannot lose weight, or that it's in your genetics, or it's such crap, excuse my language, but it really is crap, because I never would have thought it. I never would have thought I could do this. Yeah. So definitely your program showed me the way. Definitely. And I am truly thankful for it.
Thank you. Lovely words. Thank you. Some big compliments there. So no, I appreciate it. I appreciate you very much. As you know, you were a delight to work with. And yes, I can sit here and take maybe a little bit of the credit. Fair enough. I provide the structure, the accountability, that sort of thing. But like you rightly said, you're the person that did the work. So I must say thank you to you. I think you've maybe already just answered this question, but is there anything you would say to anyone watching this who's on the fence about joining Vegan, Slim and Sustain? You knew about me for many years before joining, and then you took the plunge. Is there anything you would say to those people hesitating on the decision right now?
Yeah, no, just jump in. Like I said, this program has thoroughly changed my life. Like I did not think I could do this. I never thought that I'm like 45 pounds from my goal weight, something like that, 45 or 47. It's like less weight than I've already lost. So that was
feel real now. Yeah.
Yeah, that was never. So yeah, definitely take the plunge. Like I said, it's one of the best things I've done ever for myself, because I always do for everybody else, and for me to be able to take credit and said, yes, I did this. Like Ryan showed me the way, but I never would have before said I did this. I think a couple times you had to say to me, but you did this, but you had to do it. So yeah, definitely jump in. Like I said, if I can do this at 59 years old, do it now. Like jump in, do it, do the 12 weeks. You will not be disappointed at all. No, I would do it.
Awesome. That. Well, no, thank you for all your time, Robin. I love that. Thank you. It's been a really nice conversation. Hopefully everyone. Yeah. If anyone does want to join Vegan, Slim and Sustain, you can go to veganslimandsustain.com to learn more and fill out the form to apply there, or just click the link. I'll put it down below. Thank you very much to Robin for your time here and your amazing insights and tips and lessons from your journey. Appreciate it very much.
Absolutely. Thank you, Ryan. It's good to see you.